Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Aparna Vatve, Faculty of Tata Institute of Social Sciences. This module is about community conserved areas. It is part of the paper Environment and Society. In this module, we will discuss what are community conserved areas. This will be followed by types of community conserved areas and examples of them. We will compare them with the legally protected areas in the end. Humans have been living in all parts of the world. Very few areas in the world are free of any human influence. Humans are responsible for much of the damage to the ecosystems. But our impact is not always negative. We have made efforts to consciously conserve nature also in some areas. There could be variety of reasons for conserving nature. Some are for direct or sustenance use. Some are for indirect uses. Culture, religion, aesthetics and utility are some of the main reasons for protection of nature. In one of the modules, we have looked at examples of areas protected as sacred sites. There are many sacred species in India. In this module, we will study community conserved areas. This broad category includes the sacred sites, but it also includes other types of protection mechanisms. Settled and mobile communities always played a role in conservation of areas. These areas are much older than the legally protected areas that we see around us. Communities even protected populations of birds or mammals in some areas. Official conservation systems and laws may neglect them at times, but they continue to evolve. Conservation organizations appreciate the importance of community conserved areas. There is a growing recognition of how biodiversity has been conserved because of the community use. In some new literature, they are called as ICCA. This is a term which means Indigenous Community Conservation Areas. Community conserved areas are defined as natural and modified ecosystems containing significant biodiversity values, ecological services and cultural values. They are conserved by the community for cultural, religious, livelihood or political purposes. This is done using customary laws or other effective means like taboos. Community conserved areas include ecosystems with minimum influence of humans. But there are areas where humans have been using the ecosystems on a large scale. The use can continue even after formation of community conserved areas. In some cases, it might be revived or changed. Some areas like sacred groves have been protected for a long time. They were part of the ancient cultures. But there are some community conserved areas which are very new. They have been protected only in the past few years. Their size varies a lot. Some are very small. Some could be as large stretches of land and waterscapes. Three main characters define community conserved areas or CCAs. First, that a community must be closely connected to a well-defined ecosystem. This link could be through ancient or modern cultural practices. The community's management decisions and efforts lead to the conservation of habitat, species, ecological services and associated cultural values. The third feature is that it is the community which is the major player in decision making or governance. They are also the major players in implementation of the management guidelines of the site. Strength of this system lies in the social rules that are followed by all. The local communities often have very clear conflict resolution mechanisms for the CCAs. Conservation in this case means maintenance of one or more natural ecosystems or species. The purpose of management is one factor that can be used to divide CCAs into two categories. First category is of absolute protection of a site or a species. CCAs in the second category include areas that are used for various purposes but in a sustainable manner. As a result, they do not change the important characters of the ecosystem or the species. First of these categories include sacred groves and other sacred sites where use of resources is not allowed. This is generally managed through taboos or cultural or religious beliefs. In some ways, they are similar to the legally protected areas of today. But culture takes the place of law as a regulating framework. Most of the CCAs that belong to this category are protected for religious values. But there are areas, especially in the developed countries, which are protected for aesthetic values, ethical values, or for the purpose of recreation. In all these cases, it is the community's decision. They decide not to use any resource from the area. They have reached the decision by themselves. There is no external pressure on them to protect the area, but they have done it by their own accord. Community conserved areas in the second category are for sustainable use of area. They are generally common property resources with clearly laid down rules. Communities should have actively contributed to deciding how a certain area or resource will be used. If an external agency makes these rules, it is not an example of community conserved areas and we cannot include it in this category. In many cases, community does take help of other agencies, generally NGOs or individuals. But final decision making must be of the community themselves. We have become familiar with examples of fully protected community conserved areas when we discuss sacred groves. These are more ancient, with protection rules being framed long before the present times. Mostly, these rules have become defunct today. People don't follow them anymore. But there are areas which are being protected only since the past few decades. Khichen is a desert village located about 150 kilometers west of Jodhpur city. Mr. Ratanlal Malu lives in Khichen. In 1970s, he started feeding birds around the village. He belongs to Jain community. This community believes in protecting all life. Feeding birds is a regular practice in this community. This area is visited by migratory birds which come from far away countries. In a few years, birds started gathering for the grains. Seeing this, villagers created separate bird feeding areas inside the village. This way, they were protected from the stray dogs. They also made medical help available to the injured birds. Today, more than 15,000 demoiselle cranes visit this area. Other migratory birds also come. Bird watchers and religious believers are both visiting Khichen village for watching the beautiful birds. In some areas, communities have voluntarily stopped use of natural resources. They realized that their use was causing harm to the biodiversity. In Nagaland, all communities were hunting. Hunting was a very old tradition, and all mammals and birds in the forest were eaten. But villagers realized that their hunting has gone too far. In some villages, not even a chirp of a bird could be heard. These villagers declared a local ban on hunting and created village sanctuary. Khonoma village created people's sanctuary for the endangered Blitz tragopon. Today, over 300 villages in Nagaland have taken steps to conserve and protect wildlife in their own village. They have also banned fishing using chemicals, electricity, or other destructive devices. Council of the village ensures that the rules are followed. Nagaland has another success story. Amur falcon is an endangered species of birds which comes to India as a winter migrant. These birds enter India through northeastern states. Thousands of birds come together during the winter period. The whole area is full of Amur falcons. For people, once upon a time, this was easy food. People used to hunt the birds for food and sell in the market. 12,000 to 15,000 falcons were killed every single day. Environmentalists created awareness about the endangered bird. Within a few days, the information spread through all the villages of Nagaland. In 2013, Village Council of Pangti, Asha and Sungro villages signed a declaration that made hunting of Amur falcon illegal and punishable. Information was spread through children. Children made up songs and posters about the Amur falcon. Almost immediately, the hunting was reduced to zero. The villages now organize Amur Falcon Festival every year. It attracts tourists and supports local economy. Similar story is seen in the east and west coast of India. Sea turtles visit Indian coast for laying eggs. In the past, the eggs were collected and sold in the market. Protection of sea turtle eggs, hatchlings and nesting sites is done by the fisher communities in Kerala and Orissa. Over 1 lakh of olive ridley turtles are reported to nest around Rushikulya in Orissa. They are protected through local efforts. Sustainable use of common property resources was commonly seen in many parts of India. Grazing lands were village common lands meant for specifically fodder production. They were degraded due to many reasons. Villages in dry areas of Karnataka, Rajasthan and parts of Madhya Pradesh are making efforts to revive grassland management through common rules. They are taking help of NGOs in creating structures that allows them to govern their own resources. Similar examples are also seen in other Asian countries. Traditional conservation practice known as Larangan was applied to river and forest by indigenous communities in Indonesia. Since 1980s, Lubuk Larangan system of protected river sites is active. Lubuks are protected sites on the river. Fishing cannot be done in some parts of the river for most of the year. Women have actively identified these sites. At the end of this period, all the people can participate in fishing activities in the river. This day is celebrated as a community festival. The participants pay a fee which helps the village council. Management practices for community conserved areas are prone to change with time. The rules and regulations may break or change completely. Sometimes the original values for which the CCA was protected can change because the community interests change. Ajivli is one such sacred grove in Pune district of Maharashtra. The forest was protected in the past, but there was some liberty to extract toddy from the fishtail palms in the sacred grove. Toddy is a mildly alcoholic beverage. Later, this became a very good business. Today, the contract for toddy from the sacred grove is auctioned for more than ₹1 lakh per year. Large trees in the grove are maintained because their shade helps protection of toddy palms. The quality of palm juice is best inside the sacred groves. The values associated with the forest grove have changed. New community conserved areas are created where villages have received community forest rights under the Forest Right Act of 2006. Mendha Lekha village uses this for self-governance of the forest produce. Villages in Orissa have managed to get community forest rights and have created micro plans for better management of the forest produce. In some areas, people have had to fight with the government to maintain their rights over using the community conserved areas. Community conserved areas are not limited to rural or remote tribal areas. We can even see them in the cities. Jizamata Udyan, also known as Ranicha Bagh in Mumbai, is one of the oldest botanical gardens in India. It is also a zoo. Some time back, there was a proposal to redevelop this zoo. As a result, they were going to cut large trees. It would have changed the nature of the zoo and made it more expensive for the common people. The local women's group fought against the conversion of common space and managed to protect it. They continue to be vigilant and create awareness about urban conservation areas. Community conserved areas are not only for protecting wild biodiversity. Even domesticated species are protected. A classic example is from the Peruvian Andes. Quechua indigenous people have established a potato park as a biocultural heritage site. They maintain a mosaic of agricultural and natural ecosystems that are conserved with the revival of potato diversity in place of its origin. The protected areas designated by Indian conservation laws do not always match the community conserved areas. Reserve forest, national park, and wildlife sanctuary declarations disregard many of the existing community conserved areas. CCAs are similar to government protected areas in many respects. Both have defined geographical limits. Both are aimed at conservation benefits and do not totally exclude the related benefits. International Union for Conservation of Nature (IUCN) has created a detailed guide for protected areas. They include community conserved areas as one of the category in this system. Wildlife Protection Act of 2006 has provisions for community reserves which can be used for legal protection of community conserved areas. Biodiversity Law of 2002 has a provision for declaring biodiversity heritage site. This allows community to protect and manage a site that they feel is important. There are many differences between protected areas and community conserved areas. Protected areas are declared with a clear objective of conservation. Community conserved areas may have many other objectives. Conservation could be one of them. Sometimes the conservation objective is not even declared by people. Community conserved areas are based on customary law and traditional practices. Many CCAs are not formally or legally recognized by the law of the land. But protected areas are only declared with the national law. Community conserved areas have helped communities in empowering themselves. They have used these to reclaim or secure territories, tenures, and rights to control the resource. There is a renewed vitality and sense of pride in local cultures after declaration of a community conserved area. A major problem is that formal protected areas often see local communities as intrusive, destructive, and they make it sure that they are removed. CCAs can be integrated into national protected area systems, but the local management should be left to the community. In Australia, indigenous protected areas comprising a total land and water area of 14 million hectares were declared and they were added to the National Reserve System in 1988. They remain in indigenous ownership of the Aboriginals of Australia. Aboriginals consider themselves custodians of the area. Community conserved areas are not universally successful. They are not an answer to all the problems of conservation. They also suffer from limitations and problems. Communities, especially in India, are heterogeneous. A village has many castes and many classes. All of them may not agree to decisions regarding CCAs. There are often internal inequities and social injustices within the community. Upper and lower caste, men and women might have a very radically different view of protection. It has been seen that when a community bans fuel wood collection, the women are affected more. They have to walk longer or search harder for fuel wood. Only the powerful men, landowners, can live in an autocratic manner and make decisions regarding natural resources instead of the entire community. Conservation benefits may not be shared equally. It is necessary that we are aware of these issues when we study community conserved areas. Despite this, CCA is a good model that can support conservation. It can infuse local values into national and global concerns. It will help to involve more people in the cause of conservation of biodiversity and ecosystems. In this module, we looked at community conserved areas and their types. We also looked at old and new examples of community conserved areas. In the end, we discussed problems associated with them. If you are interested in this topic, you can read more about it from the books and papers given in the essential reading. You can also read our e-text. I hope you found this interesting. Thank you.